Welcome to this video on the Wara channel. Today we're going to talk about Kailash. Kailash mountain, okay, and the area around it, okay, stands at the center and the meeting point between the lands of the human beings and the lands of the gods. The gods are represented by shapes and faces within the mountains, okay, and the mountains themselves of the area, the mountains behind Kailash, okay. So we have the intersection of the lands of the humans, essentially, and the living beings, okay, also symbolically, and we have the operating system of the machine in which we exist, the Kala Chakra, okay, which is basically symbolically represented at Kailash. We have Kailash Mountain, which is the node, the operating center, right, that basically directs creation, right, connected through those two main tunnels to the spine of creation, right. Beside Kailash, we have the Siva, we have the Savani, right, we have the Marachino, right, the god of China that gives his name to China, the Chino, right, the marriage between Ra and Chino, that function, and that god, right, that gives his name to that country within which he resides, right, which also has connect underneath the Trajo, okay, and the Trajo is that system, that function of God, which brings those systems from this seventh creation to the next, the trident. Okay, when you look from a satellite view and you see those spines of mountains right beside Kailash, creation goes downwards like that towards the next one. Okay, right? So in the direction of the one where there's less sides, right? Towards that direction, towards that final side, towards the trident, right? Which is that next creation, right? And all those seven creations before, they all exist. They're the seven lokas and they all exist, also interconnecting, right? Interconnecting lokas, right? Interconnecting is very important to understand, right? And then basically the end of this creation moves into the next one, right? With the end of the world, or the shift, if you want to see it, to the next level of creation. At that point, when the systems that are retained move to the next level of creation, right, now with all the lokas existing together to the next level, and when the systems that are not kept are discarded, right, by the Trajo, that function that moves the systems from the seventh to the next level of creation at that shift. And systems are sent there in preparation, also some systems in preparation for the shift upcoming in the future. So there's a lot of things going on in the system, and you have to basically say, with all this going on, well, you just got to hope that God's taking care of us, right? Yeah, that's right. Okay, that's a good one, and that's true, and God is taking care of everyone. Okay, that's important to understand. I think it's reassuring to know as well. Okay, so what we have is we have many gods, okay, that are represented in those mountains above Kailash mountain. When you leave those greener lands, if you look from satellite view underneath, going towards those mountains are the lands of the gods. Okay, now the golden age, we've talked about the golden age connected to that ritual at the summer solstice at Kailash mountain, drawing the Baraka Siva, only at the summer solstice, by the way, never at the winter solstice. That unleashes an ice age. So always at the summer solstice, that unleashes the growth and life of summer and creation and create into all of creation, and it's what brings the golden age, because it emits a golden light that goes into all of creation at the levels of all the lokas. And that's cumulative, when the reward for doing it every year, right? It's basically God giving you an easy ritual to do, to get rewarded with. Basically, it fixes all the problems within people, so it gives like a blessing miracle to all the creation at the subatomic, like atomic level, basically, molecular level. Creation, all the creative energy of life is given into creation, and it's cumulative from year to year, and you do it every year at the summer solstice. So God gives you these things to do, as a beautiful way to celebrate life. Now, here's an interesting one, that for that ritual right there. In the years where there's bad weather, do you just say we don't do it? Well, it could be dangerous. Someone could die, on the scaffolding on the mountain at the summer solstice, to paint the third eye of Shiva Baram at the base and center of the north side of Kailash mountain, and then the Damaru of Shiva right beside. Right after that, the Baraka Siva painted on the Damaru that's carved into the mountain where it is. And then you say, well, we won't do it this year, right? Because there's bad weather. Well, no, wrong mistake. It's better to have some people die than not to do it. That's how important it is. The benefit goes to all of creation. The people that die doing it that year, you give them, really, honestly, you make them heroes, like remember their names, because they just gave their lives for all the creation, the heroes of creation. It's like saving everybody. It's like saving a child. It's like, you have to do this thing. You understand? You have to do this ritual. That's how important it is. And hopefully no one dies. You take all the safety measures, and harnesses, all this stuff when you go up there. Everyone's safe. But it's not because it's bad weather that you don't do it. You have to do it. If someone dies one day, it's horrible. You got to do it the next year. You can't stop. You really can't. It needs to happen. It brings in the golden age because it emits the light of the energy center of the operating node of creation, which is Kailash Mountain, into creation, into all of creation. And that's the summer ritual of the summer solstice of Kailash, of the god Shiva Brahm. Okay. And basically that god Shiva Brahm has all the names of God. Okay, so that's just one name. Okay, but that's a good name to use, because we have to use one name, and it's also the origin of where the red third eye comes from that god at that place at Kailash Mountain, at the base and center of Kailash Mountain, right? The one that holds the Damaru that's carved into the mountain, the base and center of the mountain, the Damaru of time. Okay. Which, and the center of the Damaru is the energy center, which powers creation. Okay, so very important to preserve Kailash and all the environment around it. To be very careful and loving. To our home, right? Okay, so what do we have? We have all the gods that are represented in those mountains. So all the mountains in the Himalayas, all that everywhere, okay? All that you see. Those are the gods, okay? Now we've talked about how the avatar brings enlightenment to society, right? How the future, as I've seen it in my experiences, can be an enlightened future, an enlightened society, right? And I've also explained how you are all the Devas, right? And you fight against the Asuras. And the Asuras are Devas that have gone bad, or are beings that have darkness, demonic beings, okay? Such as Rakshasas that have illusion magic and all types of beings, bad beings, they're bad characters, and they prey on the innocent and unknowing, weak Devas, okay? And they feed off their light energy because they're beings that have gone to darkness, where they drain energy from the Devas. Okay, there's a lot of draining is very important in the system. Everything is right to receive, to hold, and to project, and that's also the functions of life, where you eat, you hold, and it comes out, and all these different things, right? Life, right? The basic conditions for life, right, are also the conditions of yoga. Okay, yoga is life. So we have all the gods that are represented at Kailash. Now we talk about an enlightened society in the future, the golden age and all that, and I've talked about how you can have different Shris, you can have different Buddhas, you can have different enlightened ones, different beings, right, at different levels. Right? So how does it work? I've also talked about how souls are created in levels of heaven, and how it can have different components in the soul, and up to 4 components in the soul. So you can have 3 beings that come in, and the newly created being that takes the 4th component, or less components, and all these different things. And basically, people, if they become enlightened, what are they going to remember? What are they going to experience? And I think that's a good question. If you're going to practice Zen Wara, and you want to know what you're going to experience, okay? What you really have to get out of it, okay? I'm not telling you that it's going to make you super happy, super joyful, but for some people it really will, okay? But for some old beings like me, you know, it's tough to be joyful, but when you wake up in the morning, but you give it a little bit of an effort for everybody's sake, right? But I've definitely had those moments of what you would call bliss, right? Through experiences, right? But, you know, also the moments where you say, it's been a long time. You know, it's been lasting a long time, but, you know, we got to keep it up. So, you know, what are the things that you can experience through Zen Wara, through yoga, through practice, right? If, you know, if you do become enlightened, who are you going to remember yourself to be? Right? What are you going to remember about yourself? Right? And how deep is your remembrance going to be? Enlightenment is just a part of it. The experience continues after enlightenment. After that, you're an enlightened being continuing yoga, right? But the enlightenment experience is the big one, right? Definitely the big one. So who are you going to remember to be? You know, and what are you going to remember? So we've also talked about, you know, how Kailash stands at that center between the Himalayas, between the mountains and the living beings, right? If you look from the satellite view at that complex of Kailash, where you have the seven main streams of creation, the seven mountain, they kind of follow the same directions, mountains that go in the same direction in the area of Kailash. You can see the delineation where it really has its own zone, the Kailash mountain complex within there, in the middle of the lands of the gods, and and the main gods are at that zone of Kailash mountain, right? The main manifestations and functions of God, right? Including the ones of God, okay, specifically, and of the main gods as well, okay, who accompany him in his mission as well and do these things. So I've talked about how people, you know, you can have different shris, you know, and then they can basically what they basically end up being in a way is an avatar of that specific god, you know, and that god might be manifested physically at any place within those mountains of the Himalayas. Somewhere on a rock, there's two eyes and a mouth, and that god is that manifestation. Okay, and people can actually find out through their practice through many years, remember where exactly they are manifested physically as a function, the functions that they represent as a system, as a living being, as a computer system within a program that's having a physical experience of life to enjoy and experience, represented with what their function as a system is within the computer. So what they do, right? What they represent. What are the functions within all this that they represent? When they do things every day, what are they doing? What are they affecting? What are the things that are associated to them within the computer? What permissions do they have? What do they work on? What color coded are they when they move within the Kala Chakra, which is happening at the same time interconnectedly as here? Okay? So you can remember your place in the mountain as a god within that functioning, as what you are as a system within this computer. And you experience that you're experiencing is the experience that's given to you as life to enjoy eternally and forever as you fulfill that function within the computer that is assigned to you and is your purpose and is who you are. For example, I execute this function within the system when I move. I do this calculation within the system when I move. As a system that communicates with other systems. Okay? So what do we see in an enlightened society? Well, we see life getting better for all of us because we all start working together more unified in a better way. More unified systems within this computer. So basically we put the lubricant where everything works better now, you know, where everything was friction with people, friction with systems, where you see that when we're all one within a computer, all systems working together, in a system that gives us life, and an experience that we can experience, focalized on this loka. Okay? So, and supported by all the other lokas, which are our base and foundation to this loka. Now we understand what an enlightened society is, basically, is a society where people remember who they are, and what they are really is beings of God, devas. So you see that the humans are the gods. And usually a god related to a specific function. And that's why I say that you are the devas. And the asuras are the gods that have gone bad. Some of them very, very, very powerful. More powerful than the devas. Because the devas, you know, that are powerful, they're in heaven, basically. Because they knew that that's the place to go hang out. Okay, even though they exist at the level of the vibrationary field of enlightenment, or, you know, they've reached great things. Okay? And we're trying to help out the asuras too, but the devas can't fall to the asuras. Because the asuras, they want to get stronger. And some of them, they want to do good things now, sometimes. They realize that there was a lot they didn't know. Okay? So the humans are the gods, the devas. Okay? And you have a specific place within the Himalayas, somewhere, that is your mark, your place. Okay? And you can remember where it is with time. That takes practice. It's a journey to remember who you are. Because if you're a god, you have to remember your function and what you do. And then you can remember how to do it consciously. So you train yourself through your practice of yoga to do what you're meant to do. Right? And it becomes fun in that way because you can remember who you are, and it trains you to that function as well. And with that comes an identity that you can treasure and develop. Okay? And something that's interesting and that you can work on if you feel like it, to the ability that you want. You still do what you do, right? But if you can understand and know yourself better, you know, like they say in the Matrix, know yourself. If you can know yourself, why wouldn't you know yourself? It must be important if God gave that ability to people. So you need to practice the Zen Wara. Right? And from there, what happens, an enlightened society takes place where you do the ritual at Kailash Mountain every summer solstice. The light, the golden light, spreads throughout all of creation, a gift from God. And you never stop doing that. Everything will change with that. That'll bring everything to grow beautifully. One day, within a few amount of years, there'll be maybe a maximum of 5 to 8 murders a year on the whole planet. On the whole planet. And in some years down the line, you can get to maybe 2 or 3. Because why would someone do that? And everyone's provided the tools to know that you don't do that. Right? So the knowledge of God and that we're all one, systems within this computer, created by someone, okay, who loves us. So what happens in an enlightened society is a little bit like the invasion of the gods. The gods start popping up everywhere. Humans start becoming gods, realizing that they are the gods. And as they become conscious of this and learn this through their practice of yoga and Zen Wara, then they remember who they are, and it becomes the descent of the gods that come with the Kalki avatar into creation, bringing in the age of gold and light, the golden age, the Satya Yuga, right? And the age where all the most beautiful things of creation take place, right? So it becomes a way, the invasion of the gods. But you are the gods, you just have to remember that you are. Because the gods are the functions of the computer, and the experience that we're having is our experience that's created out of it. Okay? And the computer is what gives everything life. The system, basically the software within it, the program. Okay? And all the possibilities for the future have already been created, and we're going through the different paths and possibilities for the future within a pre-created software. And we're calculating different system states at different times. Okay, so what is the enlightened society? It's the society where the gods come to earth. The humans become gods. And so many of you and us can become gods, all different gods. You all have different functions within the system, different names that you can learn and remember who you are if you're practicing the proper yoga and doing the proper practice. Okay, so this is the golden age, right? And many things happen at the same time. And you can realize that you have a spiritual journey that you can take if you feel like taking it. And they're all unique for everyone, tailored to everyone, and can take different paths and forms because God loves you. So he gave everyone a spiritual journey to discover in their lives, because it's through spirituality that we find that peace and prosperity and knowledge of God that guides us all into a peaceful future and a beautiful future where things just get better and better for everyone, and we all get together to solve all our challenges together. Okay? So like all the truths of God is within all the religions of the world, within all the cultures of the world, all the faiths, all the traditions. Also, the truth is within all of you. Okay? I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you've enjoyed this video, please do share it. Please do like. Please do subscribe and listen to other videos. Much love.